Well, Tommy, I will just start with the first question, which would be um, when and why did you start going to the Dozier School?
Well, I went to go to school and stuff like that, mainly. And, I go to school and I had a real long hair and we didn't have much and the clothes I had wasn't that good. So we fought all the time and I just didn't get along with nobody in there like that. So I wouldn't go to school, so they finally just sent me off.
And that was your parents that did that?
No. Judge done it.
So you just to repeat what you're saying, the judge sent you to Dozier School.
Yeah.
And about how old were you, if you remember?
11 years old.
11 years old. 11 years old. Where were you sent from? Where were you growing up before that?
Right here, Bronxtown. I lived here all my life.
Did you know anything about the Dozier School before you got there? What did you think you were stepping into, or what did you know about why you were being sent there?
I didn't know what it was. I had never heard of it. I didn't know nothing until I got there, and then I wish I wasn't there. I seen things going on.
So when you first arrived when you were 11, what were your first impressions of the school when you got there?
It wasn't good. I tell you right to start with, they wasn't. They treated you like trash.
In what ways? In what ways do they treat you like trash, as you say?
They just disrespected everybody. I mean, the boys, they just, they didn't care nothing about them. And they talked to you like you was a dog and all that. And they make you work one day and you go to school one day and you go to church one day, and really, it wasn't, what they were doing wasn't right.
Did things start off from the get-go like that, or?
Yeah.
When you arrived, I'm assuming there were some boys that had obviously already been there.
Oh yeah.
When you spoke to them about their experiences before you got there, was it some of the same or was it different?
They all told me just what I was saying right to start with. They tell you what you not to do and what not to do, or you're going to get a serious ass whooping. And it was serious. Because I got one.
Tell me a little bit about that. What was the kind of...
I got in a fight with another boy over my cousin because he went there with me. A big boy jumped on him, so I took up for him. And then that's when I found out about the White House. They took me there, made me pull my clothes off, and I lay on my stomach on a bed. There's three of us. And I had a strap about this long, that wide, and it had several dollars or something close to the end of it. And you could hear it hit the wall like that and hit the other wall, and you know it didn't hit you. Right wide. It beat me until I couldn't hardly walk. We had to run back to the cottage. And there's one boy, he was about 250 pounds or more to be. As young as he was just too big. And we was trying to help him, so we was too little to help him, and he fell down, and I never seen him more after that. Of course, I done heard this was happening right to start with. They was going missing and tell the parents and stuff that they'd run, and we know better than that. A couple of them was in the same building I was. They went missing. I seen them come and get them out of the building during the night. Never seen them again.
So I'll start, thank you for sharing, and I'll start from the beginning of what you just said. You said you remember this experience, this event, happening at what was called the White House. Can you tell me a little bit about what the White House is or was?
That's where they beat you. If you got in a fight or done something they told you not to do, they scared you, they just scared you there and they beat you bad. And they'd be for a couple of weeks later they beat me. I had to stand up. I couldn't hardly sit down. I had to be on my belly most of the time. And they do that. They won't let you see your parents until you get well. Or they won't see nothing.
Was this White House near the main facility? Was it on?
It was about back there in the back, kind of in the middle of some other buildings. It's a little white building. That's why everybody called it the White House.
And you said that when you were there getting your beatings, they made you take all your clothes off.
Yeah.
And lay you on your stomach. From your experience at that White House, you personally, anything else besides those types of beatings happen? What else happened to you at the White House?
The boys in the same building I was tried to rape us one night. That didn't work.
Did you just say that some of the boys that you were there with tried, or
Yeah.
some of the instructors?
No, the boys, older boys. I was the type, I didn't take no crap. I thought no matter what. That didn't come out good. And the college father we had, had been in the army. All he talked about was meeting Elvis and all this crap. And like, I really didn't care. But every time I got in trouble, he would pick me up by my feet and beat my head on the floor. And then they'd lock me in a hot box like that because I wouldn't put up with the crap.
What was the hot box?
Just a dark room. Feed you bread and water for about a week.
I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble hearing you, but you're saying it's a
Just a little spray room with a bed in it, and they'd bring you bread and water for about a week, and that's it. I mean, then until they got ready to let you out.
So sounds like it was a type of solitary punishment?
Yeah. Kind of like prisons is now. Everybody always calls them hot boxes, but it's hot.
Do you know, or do you remember about what ages you would guess some of the people in charge at Dozier School were whenever they were doing this to you?
Oh, they was in the 30s and 40s. They done been in the army and got out and all that. I remember one of them his name was Mr. Dearmore. I remember him because he was pretty much all right.
And that stuck out as a memory because he was...
Yeah, he wasn't one of them type that treats you bad. But the other man, he totally different.
How did you said Denmore, how did he respond to whenever he would see the other workers that are treating y'all poorly?
I ain't never seen it. They didn't do it when he was there.
So they were the ones that were in on what was being done to you, or kind of...
Oh, they didn't, around, certain people around, they didn't do it. But certain people wasn't around.
So take me back to another thing you said a few minutes ago. Thank you for sharing your experience, personal experience. You said that there were instances of some of the boys that you were at the school with being taken at night and you not seeing them again.
Yeah.
Do you mind describing that a bit more? What that was like? What you were there at nighttime and you would physically see somebody come and take?
I just see them go get them and leave. But I didn't went to bed. They wasn't allowed to come out of the room, and that's when we went to the restroom. And that was right close by, and you had to go straight there and straight back. But at night, like every now and then, one of the boys, they come in, everybody awake, they know it. And they come in and get them, and you never see them again.
Do you have any...
But they would say they run, but we all know that they come and got it.
And that's what they would tell you and...
They tell everybody the same thing.
Their parents?
But we know better. We wasn't allowed to say nothing about it. But they tell us what we seen. they don't talk about it. We're going back to the White House, so we didn't talk about it.
Because you were afraid of the White House.
I know what the White House was because I've done been there. I didn't want to go back.
You say you headed this
Oh yeah.
because we went to visit him after they beat him, and while we were sitting there, I remember because I was like very younger than him, and me and my mom and my other sister, we went to see him, and he told us that they had beat him, but that we couldn't say anything about it because they had threatened to kill him if he told us.
I know it's warm. Is there any way I can turn this down just a bit? Just because of the audio and I'm sorry to come on your way.
Just turn it off.
But we had went to see him, and we were sitting on the bench out on the grounds, and he told us that they had beaten him really bad, but that he told us, and he said you can't say anything because they said if you tell them your family, then he said they threatened to kill him if he told. And I remember when we left, me and my sister was looking back at him and waving, and we were crying because we had to leave him there knowing that he had just told us. And my mom was crying.
And I hate to, is there any way we can mute the television just because of the audio? I really appreciate it.
Every time I go by that place since then, it just, knowing that he was done that way and those kids, it just does something to you.
Because I'd like to get of you two in a second. Thank you, sir. So your sister is sitting here saying that she remembers when her and the rest of your family would visit, then they'd leave, they'd be waving, crying because they knew that what was being done there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember visits from your family
Yeah.
when you were there?
Everyone.
What was that like for you to see them and to know that you were still staying and that things were going to be the same when they left?
I hated for them to come because I know I wasn't going to go with them. And I was ready to get out of there. But I dealt with it.
She says that she just said, excuse me, that that you were threatened if you were to talk about any of these things at the time to be
Yeah.
harmed. Is that correct?
We was all threatened. Everybody there. That's why we didn't talk about it. Because we know, I've been to the White House and I didn't want to go back. And that they would threaten you to kill you or beat you. So we didn't talk about it.
Do you know anybody? Well, let me rephrase. You've already mentioned what has happened to some of the boys that just didn't come back. Were any of those instances a result of them talking about it?
Yeah. I think they had talked to the parents or something. Because right as the few that went, every time one went missing, they had a visit. And it wasn't but 2 or 3 days later. And we know what was happening to them because we knew where they was digging holes. And so it didn't take me long to know what was going on.
You saw people digging holes.
I see them digging holes. I know what they were doing.
You saw the boys, being taken, and you saw holes being dug.
And then the tractor out there digging, and the way they were digging the holes, everybody there knows what was going on.
Did you ever actually witness?
No, I never. They always done it at night.
So you would see them taken from the room y'all were staying in, and you saw earlier or later holes being dug. but you never saw someone actually.
Because they always done it at night when you wasn't allowed to be outside.
Mhm.
Everybody there knew what was going on.
Did you talk about this with? I know you were saying you didn't talk about it with your family and such because of the threats, but did you ever discuss these things as they were happening with the other boys that you were in school with?
We didn't talk about it. We knew not to. So they was, the ones that was mean was pretty strict about watching you. And they had other ones, other boys that was in there that was tail, and that's what they had them for. So we know not to talk.
You're saying that there were some of the boys that were at Dozier with you that would report back to
Yeah.
to the,
Every college had 2 or 3 of them.
I don't know what I would call them if it's not teachers, like, you know, what word I should use
We
for,
called them squealers.
oh, the boys, the ones that were,
They see what's going on here, everybody's talking, they would go back and tell them exactly what we were saying. So I never said a word about it. And most of the boys didn't, because they know not to.
do you remember the worst thing you experienced there? I mean, none of this is good, obviously, and you were taken to the White House for those.
That was the worst thing.
Yeah.
Because they beat you bad.
What kind of physical wounds or what?
They were from here down to right along here, you'd be purple for 2 or 3 weeks. And your legs and butt and all would tingle for a week or so because you didn't have much feeling.
And that's something that you were dealing with often?
I never got it but one time because I learned not to say nothing else.
So that was a one-time thing for you,
Mm-hmm.
because, as you've said a couple times here during this talk, you knew that you didn't want to go back.
Yeah. They broke my arm one time because I talked back to him. And I finally just wouldn't say nothing.
That arm breaking, that was a separate incident than your one White House visit?
Yeah, and that was in the college.
How was your arm broken? What did they actually do?
That big man that was mean, I sat back at him and he grabbed my arm and twisted it and broke it.
After that happened, was your arm taken care of? Was it casted?
Yeah, they put it in a cast.
They put it in a cast? Did they have, doctors on site to do things like that, or?
Yeah, they had a little doctor office.
Mm-hmm.
They wasn't that good at what they were doing, but
Do you feel like the people that worked at that doctor's office knew what was happening?
everybody there knowed.
They knew that they were setting injuries and administering care to injuries that were done because of the actual abuse.
Most of them knew it. Because they was there all the time. They didn't just stay in their office, they went everywhere.
How did the things you went through personally, as well as the things that you saw others go through there, affect you while you were there mentally? Because a lot of this is a physical thing, but how did you deal with this mentally, and what did it make the day-to-day like for you up here?
I just tried to block most of it out. And I stayed to myself pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Every now and then I'd play a little basketball or something. Other than that, I just sit around, look at books and stuff like that.
Did you know any of the boys that you went to Dozier with prior to Dozier?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. He does.
Only one of my
His
cousins.
Your
He
cousin?
He was the only one.
Was your cousin there at the same time you were?
Yeah.
Before you or after you?
And we went together.
Oh, this at the same time.
That's when he got beat because his cousin was getting in trouble. He was trying to take up for him, so they took him to the White House.
Your cousin older than you, younger than you?
He's younger than me.
Do you remember any instances he went through that maybe you didn't, or anything else that would have been
no.
different about his experience?
I think I went to the White House because another boy stabbed him, and I took it over. He was in a different apartment, but when we went out to play, sometimes we was all together, like playing ball or something like that. And that boy stabbed him, so I jumped on him, and that's the day I went to the White House.
What's your cousin's name, if you don't mind?
His name was Gabby Young.
We called him Gabby, but I think it was his
Gabby?
real name was George, wasn't it, or something? I don't even remember.
I don't know, I never told him about his real name.
You got a little nickname
He got
for him.
married, had kids, and he ended up killing himself.
Sorry about that.
I don't know if it was anything to do with that or not, but
Was Gabby with you the day that you were at White House getting your beating?
No,
No?
they didn't take him.
Mm-hmm.
They had to take him to the doctor's office because he got stabbed.
And you defending him was the reason you were sent. What was some of the things that, well, let me just say this. When you went there, did you have a time frame that you were told this is how long you'll be here? Or was it open-ended?
They just told me to take the clothes off and get on that bed. And after they got through, they said you better run to the cottage because if you don't, you're coming back. So I run. Me and another boy, the other boy, he's just too big. He couldn't do it.
So you ran back after your experience, and you didn't want, this is me repeating what you said, you didn't want to go back,
No.
obviously.
No
And so
way.
that is why you that is why you didn't speak, that is why you, did you,
They didn't know nobody to talk about it.
it was just something you didn't do, because you,
Everybody learned right quick, like,
say it again, sir?
everybody learned right quick not to talk about it because they would constantly telling you. They didn't let a day go by without reminding you. So you know not to do it.
You mind me asking, you said you were 11 when you went there. How old are you right now?
I'm 68.
68. So this would have been, 57 years ago or so. So maybe 1967-ish, to the 60s, late 60s. When you were sent to Dozier, were you told this is how long you'll be there? Was
No,
there
they didn't tell me how long I was going to be there. They never told me that.
They just said this is what we're doing, and it's kind of an open-ended time frame. So how long were you there?
9 months, 2 weeks, and 2 days.
Down to the day, down to the
Kept
day.
up with it. I won't never forget it.
How many minutes? I'm just kidding.
I didn't keep up with the minutes. I got the rest of it though.
9 months, 2 weeks, and 2 days. And what was the reason that it was exactly that long? How did you end up leaving, and what were the circumstances of you being
I
able?
don't know. I got up that morning and they said, your time's up, you're going home today. So I was happy. I wasn't worried about nothing else. I was just waiting on them to get there.
Waiting on your family to get there,
Yeah.
pick you up. So when you left, when you went back with your family, were you still under the mindset of, I'm not going to talk about what happened there?
I didn't talk too much about it. I tried to keep it away.
Was part of that because you felt like if you spoke, you might go back? Or you
I'm not, because the way they talk to you, you think they might have somebody watching. I mean, they remind you every day, that's what I'm saying. That's why I didn't talk about it.
When, from your experience, was the first time that, after you left, obviously, that word kind of started getting out about what happened to people, to boys like yourself while you were there? Was this when you were an adult that people started talking about it, or?
I told my family about it, but I didn't tell other people. And I kind of just didn't want to talk about it. I just kept it out. I was just glad to be home. I just wanted to keep it away.
Do you feel like you carried some of the mental fatigue and anguish and honestly abuse home with you?
I don't never forget it. I think about it a lot of times.
Do you think about some of the boys you were there with?
Yeah. Because I know what happened to them.
If you had to guess in the 9 months, 2 weeks and 2 days you were there, how many boys you know were taken and didn't come back? If you had to, I understand it's not
I know they were 10 or 12.
10 or 12.
If I kept up with it. They was all in the same college we was. That's why I know.
Do you have any recollection on the total or roundabout number of the total number of boys that were there when you were there?
Oh, they was a bunch. They had, I can't remember how many colleges they was, but they was like 30 or more in each one.
How many cottages?
I never counted them,
Gotcha.
but there was a whole bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
They was in different blocks all around the whole place.
Mm-hmm.
Like they'd be two blocks apart. Some of them was closer than that. But the whole place was covered with them. The school and stuff like that was mostly right in the middle of the place.
So before all of this started happening with the compensation program and with the court, and now with, obviously it's at a state level, had you been approached about sharing your experience before at all? It's all a relatively new thing since the legal stuff started. And as you know, this is called the Dozier School for Boys and Okeechobee School Victim Compensation Program, and it was passed in Senate this week, and now it's on Governor DeSantis's desk basically to sign it in. Now I will first ask you, what does potential money set aside for you for what you went through, what would that mean to your life, first off? And secondly, how would that, if at all, help you recover mentally and emotionally from what you went through? Because the physical stuff is gone now. Your arm isn't broken. I don't think your butt is blue anymore. But this money set aside, how does it make you feel just from where we are today with what's happening?
I don't know. I could really use the money because I ain't got much and I'm barely getting by. But I ain't telling it for that. I mean, everybody needs to know the truth.
Can you say that one more time?
So everybody needs to know the truth. I mean, I'm not telling the story for the money. I just think everybody ought to know.
Why do you feel like it's important that people know what you and your other boys went through?
Something like that should have come out a long time ago. Maybe a lot of lives wouldn't have ended.
Do you feel like having this opportunity to tell your story could maybe prevent things like this happening again at other places?
Yeah. Because you know, in other places it's still going on. most likely.
And you don't say that from a knowledge standpoint. It's just an assumption. Like these things don't.
Yeah, they just don't go away.
You know, this bill is set up for anybody that went to the school from 1940 to 1975. Obviously, that's yourself. You fall under there. Has your family started any sort of? I know that the application process is open and available. What exactly is this that I have right here?
It's just paperwork where I went there and all about. I reckon I can't read and write. I really can't tell you.
Say it again.
I can't read and write, so I couldn't tell you.
So it looks like a lot of this is basically proof that you went to the school.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking through these papers and I see papers with your name on them. I see, you know, your birthday, your social, things like that. And this is part of the process, from what I understand, that for anybody that is putting their name with this bill to potentially have the money, which again you say isn't why you're talking, and I fully appreciate and understand that. I even see right here a letter to what I assume is your mother that says, "Dear Mrs. Hill, it will be all right for you to call your son on Sunday, you know, June such and such." Is this kind of the way things went down there too? Like,
Yeah, that's when they wouldn't let you see them. They let you talk on the phone until you got well, where they could see you. Other than that, they didn't see you.
So this stack is basically the things that y'all are going to present to when it comes to here. Mr. Tommy, Mr. Hill went to the school, and this is a lot here. How do you feel knowing that not only yourself, and again, you're not doing it for the money, you've said that, how do you feel knowing that people like yourself and the boys that you went to school with might see some sort of, even though it's not an emotional payout, something that at least makes you feel like your voice is being heard?
I imagine a lot that's still alive that was there feels that it should have come out a long time ago. I mean, it should have come out way before then.
Do you have any theories on why it's taken till 2020s to?
I think just because people didn't have no proof. I mean, something like that, you gotta have pretty good proof for people to take it serious.
Do you know where any of the boys that you went to school with are now?
Mm.
And you said your cousin Gabby's passed.
I never seen none of the boys after I left. I don't know nothing about them. Because they didn't live around here anyway. I didn't know none in there that lived in Bunkstown.
You were the only one you knew.
Me
at the
and my
school
cousin, the only one. I wasn't another person in there from Bunkstown. Not that I know of.
Were they from other parts of the Panhandle, maybe? Do you remember, or other states?
Mariana, Jackson County, places like that. I never talked to nobody that was from Bunkstown. I mean, they might have been, but I never talked to them.
Do you remember? And this will be one of the last questions. Do you remember the first time you shared with your? I mean, again, I'm looking at this, and there was a letter to your mother. Do you remember the first time you shared with your mother what happened?
Yeah, time I got out.
What was her response?
Just like any other mama. She didn't like it. Wasn't nothing she could do about it. Wasn't nothing, really none of us could do about it.
And you feel like if she would have known, that you maybe wouldn't have been at Dozier.
Yeah.
There's no way she could have known what you were going to go through.
I didn't even, I wouldn't have never thought it would have been like that.
After you left, did you know, after you came home, did you know anybody that ended up going? No, because you were the only one from Bluntstown?
I just wanted to forget about it.
Well, I appreciate your willingness and your willingness to, even though this is a hard thing to talk about, to sharing your story and to being open to bringing those thoughts back up again, because I know that's a hard thing. So thank you for that.
You know,
And like you already said, the hope is that the more attention this gets at a time and place like this, the less likely it would be that any school like this operates in this day and age again. Mr. Hill, is there anything that I haven't asked that you would like to say, or anything else that you would like for us to know, or anything else at all?
not really.
Okay. Well, I really do appreciate your time,
Yeah.
and I think you're doing a very brave thing to speak about this. So.